Hello there, and welcome to the show where we pull back the curtain on the, shall we say, ways companies are trying to separate you from your hard-earned cash. You might think you're a savvy consumer, a digital native, a comparison shopping wizard. But what if I told you that right now, as you're innocently scrolling, clicking and buying, there are sophisticated, almost invisible tactics at play designed to manipulate your choices and, frankly, empty your wallet? It's not just about clever advertising anymore. Oh no, we've graduated to a whole new level of corporate chicanery. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of modern business practices. These aren't your grandma's bait-and-switch schemes. These are data-driven, psychologically engineered maneuvers that make the artful dodger look like an amateur. We're talking about companies exploiting your phone's battery life, deliberately kneecapping your gadgets, and even charging you more based on the phone you own. It's an eye-opening and, frankly, infuriating look at the dark side of commerce, and the truly galling part: they often face laughably minimal consequences. It's a world where a carefully worded apology or a minuscule fine is considered penance for systematically misleading millions. So buckle up, because we're about to expose how these corporate ninjas are picking your pocket and why it's so damn hard to catch them in the act. This isn't just business, it's a masterclass in modern manipulation. And you, my friend, are the unwitting student. Right, let's kick off with something that will make you clutch your phone in terror, and not just because you're down to 3% battery. We're talking about taxi apps, those modern marvels of convenience that can also, it turns out, be modern marvels of opportunistic pricing. Picture this: it's late, you're stranded, your phone is about to die, you desperately open your ride-hail app, and what do you find? A fare that seems suspiciously higher than usual. Coincidence? Oh, you sweet summer child. Some of these apps, it has been suggested, and in some cases anecdotally confirmed by users and researchers, have a rather cheeky feature. They can detect if your phone's battery is critically low. Now, why would they care about your battery life? Are they concerned digital Samaritans ready to dispatch a charger alongside your chariot? Don't be absurd. They know that a person with a dying phone is a desperate person. And a desperate person is willing to pay more, significantly more. It's a subtle form of surge pricing. But instead of being based on general demand, it's preying on specific individual vulnerability. You're less likely to shop around, less likely to wait, more likely to just smash that accept button before your screen goes black and you're left talking to a very unresponsive brick. It's the digital equivalent of a street vendor seeing you're about to faint from thirst and suddenly charging 20 quid for a bottle of water. It's not illegal per se, just creatively rapacious. The companies, of course, will often deny this explicitly or wrap it in vague language about dynamic pricing algorithms considering multiple factors. And multiple factors is a wonderfully elastic term, isn't it? It could mean anything from rush hour demand to the current phase of the moon, or perhaps the fact that your phone is screaming SOS in binary code via its battery sensor. The lack of transparency is key here. They don't exactly advertise, pay more when you're screwed. This isn't just about a few extra quid on a taxi ride. It's about the erosion of trust. It's about companies leveraging your personal data. In this case, something as seemingly innocuous as battery status against you, for profit. It makes you wonder what other data points are being used to quietly adjust the price of your digital life, doesn't it? Are they charging you more if your step count is low because you're too lazy to walk? The possibilities are both endless and terrifying. Think about the sheer audacity. They've built an entire infrastructure that thrives on knowing more about you than you might be comfortable with, and then using that information not to serve you better in a holistic sense, but to extract maximum value from you in your moments of weakness. It's a perfect little feedback loop of profit, fueled by your dwindling battery bars and rising panic. Suddenly, carrying a power bank feels less like a convenience and more like an act of financial self-defense. So the next time you're out and your phone is gasping its last digital breath, just remember that ride home might cost you more than just the fare. It might cost you a little bit of your faith in fair play. And that, frankly, is a surcharge no one should have to pay. It's a stark reminder that in the digital age, convenience often comes with hidden costs, sometimes quite literally. Apple. Purveyors of sleek design, intuitive interfaces, and as it turns out, a rather controversial approach to device longevity. Remember when your older iPhone, once a zippy marvel, started to feel like it was wading through digital treacle? Apps took an eternity to load, swipes registered with a lazy delay. You weren't imagining it. And Apple, after much public outcry and investigative journalism, eventually admitted to it. Sort of. Their official line on what became known as Batterygate was that they were slowing down older iPhones with aging batteries to prevent unexpected shutdowns. A noble goal, perhaps, if a tad paternalistic. We're making your expensive device perform worse to save you from the minor inconvenience of it turning off unexpectedly. Thanks, Tim. It's like a doctor saying, we've put sand in your petrol tank to stop your car from speeding. Helpful, but not really the solution one hopes for. Naturally, a more cynical interpretation quickly gained traction that Apple was deliberately degrading the performance of older models to nudge, or rather shove, users towards purchasing shiny new iPhones. Planned obsolescence, but with a software update. It's a compelling theory, especially when a new iPhone launch is just around the corner, and suddenly your old reliable device starts acting like it's developed a sudden debilitating illness. The timing, as they say, was impeccable. The impact on users was palpable. Frustration mounted as perfectly good hardware was artificially hobbled. Imagine buying a sports car and then a few years later the manufacturer remotely installs a speed limiter because the tires be getting a bit warm. You'd be furious, and rightly so. This felt similar. It wasn't just about speed, it was about the perceived lifespan of a premium product for which consumers paid a premium price. This practice led to a flurry of lawsuits, government investigations, and a PR headache for Apple that even their massive marketing budgets struggled to contain. They eventually offered discounted battery replacements and more transparency around battery health and performance management. But for many, the damage was done. The trust, like those old iPhone batteries, had degraded. It was a stark reminder that the software controlling our hardware can be a double-edged sword. This whole saga raises a much broader question about tech companies and the control they wield over the devices we supposedly own. If a software update can fundamentally alter the performance and usability of your device, do you truly own it? Or are you merely licensing it, subject to the whims and business strategies of its creator? It's a philosophical quandary wrapped in a lithium-ion battery. And let's be clear, while Apple's explanation about preventing shutdowns might hold some technical merit for some specific cases, the lack of transparency initially and the convenient side effect of encouraging upgrades left a sour taste. It felt less like a feature and more like a very expensive, very subtle form of persuasion. Your phone is slow? Perhaps it's time for the new, much faster and coincidentally much more expensive model we just released. Genius, diabolical, but genius. Now let's talk about a scam so old, so brazen. It's practically a heritage-listed monument to corporate avarice printers and their ridiculously expensive ink. You know the drill. You need a printer. You see one on sale for, say, 50 quid. What a bargain. You think. You bring it home, set it up, print a few pages, and then bam, low ink warning. You trundle off to buy more ink and discover that a full set of cartridges costs more than the printer itself. Welcome, my friends, to the razor and blades business model, perfected for the paper-strewn age. Printer companies, you see, often sell the hardware, the printer itself, at a very low margin, sometimes even at a loss. They're practically giving them away. Why? Because they know they've got you hooked. The real money, the veritable gold mine, is in the consumables, the ink cartridges. That tiny plastic box filled with a few milliliters of colored liquid. Ounce for ounce, it's often more expensive than vintage champagne or, dare I say, unicorn tears. And they're not just expensive, they're fiendishly designed to maximize profit. Many printers come with starter cartridges which contain even less ink than the already meager standard ones. It's like buying a car and finding it only has enough fuel to get you off the dealer's forecourt. Then there's the chipping, the DRM digital rights management embedded in cartridges to prevent you from using cheaper third-party alternatives or refilling your own. Your printer will often refuse to recognize them or flash ominous warnings. It's a closed ecosystem designed to keep you buying their overpriced ink forever. They'll tell you it's for quality control or to ensure optimal performance. And to that I say poppycock. It's about maintaining a stranglehold on a ludicrously profitable market. Think about it. You wouldn't accept your car manufacturer dictating which brand of petrol you must use, especially if their brand cost 5 times as much as everyone else's. Yet we've been conditioned to accept this with printers. The environmental impact is also worth noting. Billions of these tiny, difficult-to-recycle plastic cartridges end up in landfills every year, all because refilling is actively discouraged or made impossible by design. It's a mountain of waste generated not by necessity but by a business model that prioritizes repeat purchases over sustainability or common sense. It's a triumph of planned obsolescence where the ink runs out long before the printer itself is actually broken. This feeling of being trapped is universal. You need to print something, a boarding pass, a school assignment, that hilarious meme to stick on the office fridge, and you're at the mercy of the ink gods. It's a low-level, simmering resentment that most of us just live with. We sigh, we curse, we fork over the cash, because what's the alternative? Hand copying Tolstoy? Probably not. And this model persists because, well, it works for them. It's incredibly lucrative. Despite decades of consumer grumbling, the fundamental mechanics haven't changed much. They've just gotten more sophisticated at ensuring you keep coming back for their tiny, exorbitantly priced vials of colored water. It's a masterclass in making you pay through the nose for something that should, by all rights, be far more reasonable. Alright, next up is a tactic so sneaky, so insidious you might not even notice it until you suddenly realize your favorite chocolate bar feels a bit dainty, or your bag of crisps seems to contain more air than actual potato. I'm talking about shrinkflation, the art of quietly reducing the size, quantity, or volume of a product while keeping the price exactly the same, or sometimes, horror of horrors, even increasing it slightly. It's the corporate equivalent of a magician's misdirection. You see, companies know that consumers are highly sensitive to direct price increases. Slap an extra 50 pence on a product and people notice. They grumble. They might even switch brands. But subtly shave off 10 grams here, reduce the number of sheets in a toilet roll there, or put a bigger dimple in the bottom of a jar. That's much harder to spot, especially if you're not meticulously comparing old packaging with new, which, let's be honest, most of us aren't doing during our weekly shop. This isn't just an occasional trick, it's a widespread phenomenon across countless product categories, from breakfast cereals to cleaning supplies, from coffee tins to ice cream tubs. Products are shrinking before our very eyes. The box looks the same, the branding is familiar, but you're getting less bang for your buck. It's a stealth price hike, effectively. You're paying the same or more for less. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts for your household budget. The justifications from companies, when they're even asked, usually revolve around rising input costs for raw materials, manufacturing, or transport. And while that can be true, shrinkflation is a way to pass those costs onto you without the sticker shock of a straightforward price increase. It's a calculated gamble that you won't notice. Or if you do, you won't care enough to change your purchasing habits. It preys on our inattention and our brand loyalty. The psychological aspect is key here. We're conditioned to look at the price tag, not necessarily the net weight or volume, unless we're particularly diligent. So, the familiar price point acts as an anchor, making us feel like things are stable even when the value proposition is eroding beneath our feet. It's a clever manipulation of consumer perception, making it feel like you're still getting the same deal, when in reality you're being subtly shortchanged. And is it illegal? Generally no, as long as the packaging accurately states the new smaller quantity. They're not technically lying, they're just being economically astute, shall we say, in a way that benefits them far more than it benefits you. It's a loophole big enough to drive a slightly smaller truck through. The onus is on you, the consumer, to be hyper-vigilant, to become a forensic shopper comparing price per unit across different sizes and brands. So how do you fight back against the incredible shrinking product? Awareness is the first step. Start paying attention to weights, volumes, and quantities. Notice if your favorite biscuits suddenly have one less in the packet, or if that family-sized bag of pasta seems a bit less generous. It's a constant battle of wits, and unfortunately, the companies have a lot more practice at this game than we do. But at least now you know, sometimes the biggest trick is the one you don't see. Now, let's delve into a practice that turns the simple act of buying something online into a frustrating game of guess the final price. I'm talking about drip pricing, a delightfully insidious tactic where the initial price you see advertised is merely the tip of a very expensive iceberg. The bulk of the cost, made up of various mandatory fees and charges, is only revealed incrementally as you go through the checkout process. By the time you see the true total, you're already halfway committed. This isn't just a minor annoyance, it's a deliberate strategy employed across numerous industries, most notoriously airlines, concert ticket sellers, and hotels. You see a flight advertised for a temptingly low price, say £99. Fantastic! You click through, select your dates, enter your details, and then drip, drip, drip. A service fee appears, then a booking fee, perhaps a seat selection fee if you don't want to be wedged next to the toilet. Suddenly, your £99 flight is pushing £150. The psychology behind drip pricing is particularly cunning. It leverages what's known as commitment bias, or the sunk cost fallacy. Once you've invested time and effort into the booking process, entering your name, address, passport details, choosing your preferences, you're psychologically less likely to abandon the purchase, even when confronted with unexpected extra costs. You've come this far, right? Might as well see it through, even if you feel like you're being fleeced. These fees come in a bewildering array of disguises: resort fees at hotels, even if you have no intention of using the resort's grimy gym; processing fees, convenience fees, the convenience of what exactly? Paying more; facility fees. The names are often vague and opaque, making it difficult to understand what you're actually paying for. It's a masterclass in obfuscation, designed to make price comparison between providers nearly impossible until the very final step. The lack of transparency is a core feature, not a bug. Companies know that if they advertise the total price up front, fewer people would click. By luring you in with an artificially low headline price, they get you into their sales funnel. It's a bait and switch, but stretched out over several clicks, making it feel less like a switch and more like a slow, painful squeeze on your wallet. While some regulators have made noises about cracking down on drip pricing, particularly in sectors like air travel, it remains stubbornly prevalent. The rules often have loopholes, or companies find new and inventive ways to label their add-on charges. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game, and guess who usually ends up paying more? Yes, it's you, the bewildered consumer, just trying to book a holiday or see your favorite band without needing a degree in forensic accounting. Ultimately, drip pricing erodes consumer trust and fosters a sense of frustration. It turns what should be a straightforward transaction into an ordeal. You're left feeling tricked, irritated, and a little bit poorer than you expected. It's a clear example of companies prioritizing short-term gains, from deceptive pricing, overbuilding long-term customer loyalty, through transparency and fairness. So, next time you see a price that looks too good to be true, brace yourself for the drip. Let's move on to the buzzword that's currently hotter than a dragon's sneeze in a pepper patch: AI. Artificial intelligence. It promises a future of self-driving cars, medical breakthroughs, and toasters that can predict your deepest existential anxieties. But in the hands of some companies, AI has become less about genuine technological advancement and more about, shall we say, AI washing, slapping the label on anything and everything to make it sound more sophisticated and, crucially, more expensive. You see it everywhere now. AI-powered toothbrushes, AI-enhanced cat litter, AI-driven coffee makers. It's as if adding those two little letters magically imbues a mundane product with sentient wisdom. The reality, however, is often far less impressive. In many cases, what's being marketed as AI is little more than a basic algorithm, some simple automation, or perhaps a slightly more complex set of if-then statements that have been around for decades. Why do companies do this? Simple. AI sounds cutting-edge, futuristic, and incredibly clever. By associating their product with AI, they can create a perception of superior quality or capability, thereby justifying a premium price tag. Consumers, often understandably bewildered by the technical jargon, might be swayed into thinking they're getting a piece of tomorrow's technology today, even if what's under the hood is decidedly last Tuesday's. The problem is genuine artificial intelligence, the kind that involves machine learning, neural networks, and complex data analysis, is difficult and expensive to develop. Slapping an AI sticker on a product is, by comparison, incredibly cheap. It's a marketing ploy designed to capitalize on the hype, often without delivering any real AI-driven benefits to the consumer. It's the digital equivalent of putting organic on a Mars bar. It sounds good, but it doesn't really mean much. This misleading use of terminology not only deceives customers, but also muddies the waters for companies but doing genuinely innovative work in AI. When everything is AI-powered, the term loses its meaning. It becomes a generic marketing descriptor rather than an indicator of true technological prowess. Consumers become cynical, and discerning real innovation from mere puffery becomes an almost impossible task for the average person. Consider the number of startups that sprinkle AI liberally throughout their pitch decks to attract investment, or established companies that rebrand existing features with an AI gloss. It's a way to appear ahead of the curve, to generate buzz, and to tap into the current tech zeitgeist. But if the AI in your smart fridge is just a pre-programmed timer that reminds you to buy milk, is it really AI or just a slightly more talkative appliance? So the next time you encounter a product proudly boasting its AI capabilities, approach with a healthy dose of skepticism. Ask yourself, what does the AI actually? Is it solving a complex problem in a novel way, or is it just a fancy way of describing a fairly standard feature? Don't let the buzzword blind you. Sometimes the most artificial thing about AI-powered products is the intelligence they claim to possess. And for our final exhibit in this gallery of galling corporate tactics, let's talk about something that might make Apple users feel a little targeted. It's the phenomenon where, for the exact same product or service, iPhone users are sometimes charged more than their Android-using counterparts. Yes, you heard that right. The sleek device in your pocket might actually be signaling to companies that you're willing and perhaps able to pay a premium. Some call it the Apple tax, and it's as infuriating as it sounds. How does this even work, you ask? Well, websites and apps can often detect the type of device and operating system you're using to access them. This isn't inherently nefarious. It's often used for optimizing user experience, ensuring the site or app displays correctly on your specific screen. However, some businesses appear to be taking this a step further, using this information to implement a form of dynamic pricing based purely on your choice of phone. The underlying assumption, it seems, is that iPhone users, having already shelled out a premium for their handset, are generally wealthier or at least less price-sensitive than Android users. Therefore, the logic goes they can afford to pay a little bit more for other things, too, be it a hotel room, a flight, or even items in an e-commerce app. It's a rather blunt form of digital profiling, reducing your financial capacity to the brand of your smartphone. Evidence for this practice has surfaced anecdotally and through small-scale studies over the years. Users have reported seeing different prices for the same airline ticket or hotel room when searching on an iPhone versus an Android device or even a desktop computer. While companies are rarely transparent about such pricing strategies, the discrepancies are hard to ignore and point towards a deliberate, if subtle, form of price discrimination. The ethical concerns here are pretty significant. Is it fair to charge someone more based on the perceived affluence associated with their phone brand? It feels like a digital redlining, where your access to fair market prices is influenced by a demographic assumption tied to your tech choices. It also penalizes brand loyalty, turning your preference for a particular ecosystem into a potential financial liability in other areas of your digital life. This isn't about the inherent cost of developing an app for iOS versus Android, which can sometimes differ. This is about the product or service being offered at different price points in real time, based on the device you happen to be holding. It's a sneaky way to maximize revenue by segmenting customers and charging what the algorithm each segment is willing to bear, rather than a fair uniform price. So if you're an iPhone user, it might be worth occasionally checking prices on a different device or in an incognito browser window just to see if you're being subjected to this premium pricing. It's yet another reminder that in the digital marketplace, you're not just a consumer, you're a collection of data points, and some of those points might be telling companies you're ripe for a surcharge, a rather bitter apple to swallow, isn't it? So there you have it, a whirlwind tour through some of the more, shall we say, tactics companies use to get a little more of your money. From exploiting your dying phone battery to subtly shrinking your favorite snacks, the ingenuity is, frankly, both impressive and appalling. The digital age has opened up a Pandora's box of new ways for businesses to nudge, cajole, and sometimes outright trick us into parting with our cash. It's a constant game of cat and mouse, and unfortunately the mice often have a PhD in behavioral economics. The key takeaway from all of this isn't to become a paranoid Luddite shunning all technology and commerce. That's not practical, nor is it particularly fun. Instead, the goal is to become a more informed, more vigilant consumer. Understanding these deceptive business practices is the first step towards protecting yourself from them. Question the defaults, read the small print, even if it requires a magnifying glass and a strong coffee. And be aware that the price you see isn't always the price you'll pay or the value you'll get. If you found this eye-opening, or perhaps just infuriatingly familiar, please do us a solid. Like this video, share it with your friends, especially the ones still blissfully unaware of the iPhone tax. And, most importantly, subscribe to Trendbit for more deep dives into the things that affect your wallet and your world. Stay sharp out there and don't let the corporate ninjas get the better of you. Until next time, keep your batteries charged and your wits about you.